Hey guys, tonight we're not exactly in a cozy studio. The air here is thick and soupy humid enough to stick to your skin like a second layer of clothing, and it smells of damp earth and something sweet and decaying. You're not just watching a video. You're here with me right beside a colossal, shaggy beast that's slowly, purposefully tearing down a whole damn tree. Yeah, we're following a giant ground sloth, Megatherium americanum, to be precise, on its nightly foraging expedition about 2.5 million years ago. A single swipe of its claws could slice you in half, but it's not looking at you or me. It's focused on its meal. You're close enough to feel the ground tremble with every slow-motion movement it makes. Just the soft crunch of leaves and the occasional low, rumbling bellow from its chest. This is its world, and we're just visitors. Honestly, you probably won't survive this, but hey, you get front row seats. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Now that tree. That's what we're here for. You see, the giant sloth isn't a quick eater. It's a ponderous, deliberate creature built for power, not speed. Its massive hind legs and tail form a tripod, allowing it to stand upright, reaching for branches that would be impossible for any lesser herbivore. You can hear the groaning of the wood as it applies pressure, and then with a sharp crack, the whole trunk gives way. The leaves, the bark, the succulent, inner cambium, it's all fair game. As a mainstream historical fact, the giant ground sloth Megatherium was one of the largest land mammals ever to exist, weighing as much as an elephant, and standing up to 20 feet tall when it reared up on its hind legs. It truly was a behemoth. But yet this historians still argue whether these animals were purely herbivorous, or if they occasionally scavenged for meat. Imagine that this gentle giant, a potential opportunistic carnivore. It's a fringe tidbit that's still debated, a little detail that complicates our neat picture of the past. You watch as it uses its long, prehensile lips to strip leaves from the fallen branches. It's a slow, rhythmic process. You're a small, insignificant thing next to this creature. A fleeting thought in a world that doesn't care about you. The air hangs heavy with the scent of wet earth and crushed plant matter. A cool breeze, a rarity in this humid jungle, rustles the remaining canopy. Every now and then a smaller creature, a prehistoric armadillo or a massive turtle, scuttles out of the way, startled by the great beast's presence. There's a certain peacefulness to the scene, a primal rhythm that's both terrifying and deeply comforting. You could almost forget the dangers lurking just beyond the edge of our vision. This is the Pliocene, a time of giants, and you're walking alongside one of the biggest. The ground is soft and spongy beneath your feet, a constant reminder of the unseen life bustling just below the surface. You got to watch where you step, because a prehistoric insect or a tiny, venomous amphibian could be anywhere. The giant sloth, however, has no such worries. Its thick, shaggy coat and immense hide protect it from almost everything. You can almost feel the texture of its coat, a coarse, wiry pelt the color of dried mud and decaying leaves. It's perfectly camouflaged in the dim light of the understory. The sloth's eyes are small and dark, almost lost in its broad, flat face. They seem to stare into nothingness, yet you know they're aware of everything. It moves with a kind of stately grace, a slow-motion ballet of power and bulk. You follow it, staying just far enough away to avoid being an accidental snack, but close enough to hear the soft snorts and rumbles it makes. It's like being a shadow, a silent observer in a world that has long since vanished. We're not just watching, We're participating in a lost ecosystem. The sloth isn't just eating, it's shaping the landscape. By knocking down trees, it creates clearings, allowing new plants to grow. It's a force of nature, a living bulldozer, and we're here to witness its foraging habits, to unearth the secrets of its hidden feasts. The giant sloth continues its slow-motion dance of destruction and consumption. You watch as it carefully pulls a thick vine from the undergrowth, testing it, with a curious rumble before wrapping its long tongue around it and stripping the leaves. The sound is wet and pulpy, a symphony of chewing that seems to fill the entire forest. The air is so thick with moisture that you can practically taste it, and a fine mist of dew hangs in the air, catching the faint moonlight that filters through the dense canopy. The ground is a carpet of decaying leaves branches, and the occasional glistening fungus, all of it smelling of life and death in equal measure. It's a smell that's alien and primal, a scent you'd never encounter in the modern world. You try to take a deep breath, but the air is so heavy it feels more like drinking it. You wipe a film of sweat from your brow, but it's back in a moment. The forest itself is a character in this story. The trees here are colossal, some so old, their trunks are gnarled and covered in moss like wizened grandfathers. They form a thick, uninterrupted canopy high above a green ceiling that only occasionally allows a shaft of moonlight to pierce through and illuminate a patch of ferns or a cluster of prehistoric flowers. This is not the neat, orderly forest of today's nature documentaries. This is a wild, untamed place, and every plant, every insect, every rustle in the undergrowth is part of a complex, interconnected web of life. We're in the Pliocene rainforest, a humid, subtropical expanse that covered much of South America. It was a time of immense biodiversity, a place where the rules were different and the scales of life were far grander than they are today. This diverse flora is what sustains our giant companion. It's a walking buffet, a veritable salad bar on a colossal scale. The sloth seems to know exactly what it's looking for. It ignores some plants, sniffing at them dismissively with a soft snort, while others it approaches with a kind of quiet eagerness. You notice it particularly enjoys the leaves of a plant that looks suspiciously like a prehistoric philodendron. You try to stay out of its path, moving from behind one massive tree trunk to the next. The ground is uneven, and you trip over a fallen branch, catching yourself with a muffled curse. The sloth doesn't even flinch. It's in a world of its own, a peaceful, consuming trance. As a quirky or fringe tidbit, some paleontologists have theorized that the giant ground sloth's diet included hallucinogenic plants, which might have contributed to its seemingly placid demeanor. It's a fun thought, isn't it? This gigantic creature, tripping through a prehistoric jungle, just vibing with the cosmos. But historians still argue whether its brain structure would have even been capable of processing such compounds. Probably not, but hey, a guy can dream. The night deepens and the forest comes alive with new sounds. The buzzing of giant insects, the hooting of some strange nocturnal bird, the distant guttural roar of a saber-toothed cat. All of it is background noise to the steady, unceasing rhythm of the sloth's foraging. It's a walking testament to the power of a single-minded purpose. Find food, eat it, repeat. Its claws, which you've seen tear down a tree, are now being used with surprising delicacy, stripping the bark off a small sapling, and then carefully peeling off the inner layer, the sweet, nutrient-rich cambium. This isn't a mindless eating machine. It's a gourmet, a connoisseur of the Pliocene buffet. The sheer amount of food this one creature needs is staggering. It's an endless slow-motion search for calories. You're starting to feel a little hungry yourself, which is an unfortunate thought, given the circumstances. You eye a berry on a nearby bush, but think better of it. You have no idea what it is, and you probably won't survive this if you get poisoned. The foraging begins in earnest now. The sloth has moved on from the fallen tree, leaving behind a stripped, skeletal carcass of wood and bark, and is now ambling through a thicket of what looks like giant ferns. You are still its shadow, a silent observer in this ancient dance. It moves with a surprising stealth. For a creature of its size, its massive weight, distributed evenly on its broad, flat feet. The sounds are more muted now, just the soft rustle of vegetation and the low hum of the forest. You've got to hand it to this beast. It's a professional forager. It doesn't just blindly eat everything in sight. It sniffs it, pokes, and it chooses. The sheer variety of its diet is starting to impress you. Right now, it's using those formidable claws, the ones that could dismantle a car, to delicately pull up a tuber from the soft, loamy soil. It's a moment of pure contradiction, immense power applied with surgical precision. It pulls the root from the ground, shakes the dirt off, and then with a kind of gentle, almost grandmotherly care, begins to chew. You can hear the crunch of the starchy root as it masticates a sound like gravel in a blender. It's a reminder that this creature isn't just a brute. It's a living, breathing being with a specific role in its ecosystem. It's a land-based omnivore, but with a strong preference for roots, bulbs, and tough, fibrous plants. As a mainstream historical fact, the giant ground sloth's diet was incredibly varied, allowing it to adapt to different environments. This adaptability is one of the reasons it was so successful for so long, spreading from its home in South America and moving into what is now North America. It was a true ecological generalist, a testament to the power of a flexible diet. But here's a quirky tidbit. Some researchers believe that the sloth's immense size and powerful digestive system allowed it to eat toxic plants that other animals couldn't, giving it a unique advantage. Imagine being so big and so tough that you could eat poison ivy and just, not have a bad time. It's a neat thought, and you watch as it chomps on a plant that looks suspiciously like a prehistoric version of something you probably wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. Now, a lot of what we know about the Megatherium's diet comes from fossilized stomach contents and wait for it fossilized feces. Yes, paleontology is a glamorous business. Historians still argue whether the sloth's gut flora was uniquely adapted to break down these tough and potentially toxic plants, or if it was simply a matter of sheer digestive power. The debate continues, but you're getting a front-row seat to the results. The sloth moves slowly but purposefully, its head held low as it sniffs the ground for buried treasures. You can almost feel the vibrations of its careful, rhythmic steps through the soles of your shoes. This isn't a leisurely stroll. It's a search for survival, an endless quest for calories in a world that demands a lot of them. You take a moment to look up to peer through the dense foliage at the stars above. There's a certain stillness to the air now, a quiet before the next act. The moon is a thin crescent, and the sky is a deep, velvety black. The sounds of the forest are still there, but they've softened almost as if they're holding their breath. It's an easy moment to get lost in, to forget that you're in a world where everything, even the biggest creatures, is fighting for its life. The giant sloth, however, isn't lost in the moment. It's got a single unwavering goal, and you're along for the ride. The sun has set completely now. A deep, impenetrable darkness has fallen over the forest, broken only by the thin slivers of moonlight that manage to pierce the canopy, and the soft, phosphorescent glow of fungi clinging to the rotting logs. The air has cooled slightly, but the humidity remains a suffocating blanket that makes every breath feel heavy. The sounds of the forest have changed, too. The daytime chorus of birds and insects has given way to the rustle of unseen things in the undergrowth, the low hoot of an owl-like creature, and the chilling, distant roar of a predator on the hunt. This is a time of new dangers, a time when you feel your own insignificance more acutely than ever before. The giant sloth, however, seems unbothered. It continues its slow, methodical march, its form now a gigantic, shaggy silhouette against the gloom. Its eyes, you notice, have a reflective quality in the moonlight, small pinpricks of light that stare into the darkness. It's a moment to remember that this is its world, its home, and it's perfectly adapted to it. It's a feeling that you're just a tourist, a passing ghost in a world that doesn't know you exist. You instinctively find yourself staying closer to the sloth, using its immense bulk as a shield, a living wall between you and the lurking terrors of the night. This is a risky move, of course, because an accidental step on your part could mean a very swift end. But the alternative, being alone in this prehistoric night, is far more terrifying. You can hear the snapping of twigs and the soft padding of paws somewhere to your right. You freeze, holding your breath, your heart a frantic drum against your ribs. The sound comes closer, and you strain your eyes to see. A pair of eyes low to the ground glow in the gloom. It's a terrifying moment, the kind of jump scare that would have you out of your seat if you were just watching a screen. But you're not. You're here, and the sloth, bless its simple heart, doesn't even seem to notice. It just keeps on chewing its world, reduced to the single all-consuming task of finding more food. That's a mainstream historical fact right there. Animals that reach a certain size often become unconcerned with smaller predators. They simply don't see them as a threat, which is both a blessing and a curse for you right now. The eyes in the darkness blink, and then to your immense relief turn away. Whatever it was has decided that a hulking beast like the sloth is not worth the risk. It's a moment of profound gratitude, and a reminder of just how close you are to the edge of the food chain. As a quirky or fringe tidbit, some researchers believe that the giant ground sloth's shaggy coat may have had a very specific function, not just insulation, but also a protective layer that was so dense and matted that it could act as a kind of natural armor, making it difficult for predators to get a solid bite. Imagine that a walking suit of dreadlocks that kept you safe from hungry, prehistoric cats. It's a great visual, isn't it? Historians still argue whether the giant sloth's primary defense was its size, its claws, or simply its reputation. The truth is probably a mix of all three. You've seen the power in its limbs and felt the ground shake beneath it. It's a living fortress, a testament to the evolutionary arms race between predator and prey. You take a moment to compose yourself, to quiet the frantic thrum of your pulse. The night is long, and the foraging continues. The sloth is now on the move again, and you must follow a tiny shadow in the wake of a giant. The night deepens, and the giant sloth continues its slow, unceasing feast. You've noticed a change in its eating habits. It's no longer just tearing down whole trees. It's now more selective, almost like a connoisseur moving from one type of plant to another. It stops at a large, fleshy-leafed plant with a beautiful, vibrant flower, and with a soft sniff completely ignores the blooms instead, carefully chewing on the thick stem. Then it pulls up a different plant, one with spiny, thistle-like leaves, and chews on them with apparent relish. This is not the simple, brute force consumption you expected. This is a complex, varied diet. As a mainstream historical fact, the giant ground sloth's diet was far more diverse than once believed. While initially thought to be a simple browser research from fossilized dung, Yes Dung, remember, that has revealed they consumed a wide range of plants, from tough grasses and fibrous shrubs to cacti and even succulents. It's a reminder that their adaptability was key to their survival. But here's a quirky tidbit that will really get you. Some paleontologists believe that the giant ground sloth, especially during times of scarcity, may have supplemented its diet with a truly bizarre food source, its own feces. This practice, known as coprophagy, is seen in some modern-day animals like rabbits and allows them to redigest nutrients that they may have missed the first time around. It's a disgusting but efficient survival strategy. Historians still argue whether this was a common behavior or a last-ditch effort during a food shortage. The fossil record is a bit ambiguous on the point, so we can't say for sure. But the image of this immense creature, a gentle giant of the Pliocene, engaging in such a strange practice, is something you won't soon forget. You watch as it rips apart a cactus with those powerful claws, its thick, leathery lips and incredibly tough tongue seemingly impervious to the sharp spines. It's a testament to its physical resilience and its ability to turn almost any plant matter into a meal. The sheer amount of food it consumes is still staggering, and you can almost feel the calories being converted into pure raw power inside its colossal body. The night is still save for the rhythmic crunching of the sloth's jaw and the soft rustle of leaves as it moves. The air is so heavy with the scent of damp earth and crushed plants that you can almost taste it. A small, prehistoric amphibian, its skin a vibrant electric blue, hops across a log and disappears into the undergrowth. You remember the earlier moment of terror, the glowing eyes in the darkness, and you feel a profound sense of relief. You're still here, still a shadow in the wake of this great beast. The journey continues, and as the sloth moves on, you follow, knowing that every new step reveals a new secret about this forgotten world. It's a world where the lines between what you think you know and what is actually real are constantly blurred, and you're here to see it all. The rainforest floor has begun to thin out. The air is no longer a thick, humid blanket, but a lighter, drier breath. The dense canopy has given way to patches of open sky, revealing a scattering of stars that you couldn't see before. The giant sloth, too, has changed its pace. It's no longer just ambling. It's striding with a more determined gait, its head held higher, as if it's sensing a change in the wind. You're following it out of the deep, dark jungle and onto the Great Plains. The Pliocene rainforest is giving way to the vast grasslands of what is now South America, a change in scenery that signals a new leg of our journey. As a mainstream historical fact, the Pliocene epoch was a time of significant global climate shifts. The world was cooling and vast ice sheets were forming at the poles, which in turn caused sea levels to drop and climates to become drier. This led to a dramatic expansion of grasslands and savannas at the expense of forests. The giant sloth, a forest creature by nature, had to adapt or face extinction. And adapt it did. You can see it now, a creature of the forest learning to be a creature of the plains. Its diet changes too. It's no longer chewing on soft leaves and tubers, but on the tough, fibrous grasses that cover this new landscape. You can hear the grinding sound of its teeth as it processes this tougher food. It's a testament to its incredible digestive system and its ability to be a true ecological generalist. But here's a quirky tidbit. Some paleontologists believe that the giant ground sloth's powerful clawed forelimbs were not just for foraging and defense, but also for digging burrows. While not on the scale of its close relative, the ground sloth, Mylodon, some evidence suggests that our giant friend might have also been a part-time architect, digging shallow depressions in the earth to rest in or perhaps to access nutrient-rich soil. Imagine this 20-foot-tall beast, a literal living mountain hunched over and digging in the dirt. It's a slightly ridiculous but very real possibility. Historians still argue whether this was a widespread behavior or something only practiced in certain habitats. The air here is different. It's drier, and the scent of damp earth has been replaced by the smell of sun-baked grass and dust. A cool night wind sweeps across the open plain, making the long grass ripple like waves on a green ocean. The sound is a low, whispering hiss that seems to stretch on forever. There's a certain peacefulness to this new landscape, a feeling of vastness that was absent in the claustrophobic confines of the rainforest. But this new environment also brings new dangers. You are no longer hidden by the thick vegetation. You are exposed a tiny speck on a wide open canvas. You instinctively duck down in the tall grass, trying to make yourself as small as possible. The sloth, however, has no such worries. It's a master of this new domain, its powerful legs carrying it across the plains with a steady, unhurried pace. Its shaggy coat, which was camouflage in the forest, now makes it stand out against the landscape, but its size is its greatest defense. You can see the moon now, a full luminous orb hanging high in the sky, casting a silver light over the endless grassland. This is a new chapter in our journey, a new world to explore, and a new way of life for our colossal companion. The Great Plains stretch out before you, an endless expanse of whispering grass under a sky full of stars. The air is cool and dry, carrying the scent of dust and distant thunderstorms. The sloth's steady rhythmic steps continue, but its purpose has shifted. It's no longer focused on immediate foraging. Its massive head is raised, sniffing the wind, its pace quickened with a sense of quiet urgency. It's looking for water. In this new, drier world, water is not a given. It's a precious commodity, a life-giving source that must be sought out. You can feel the new tension in the air, a silent but constant pressure to find a watering hole before the long night is over. You follow in its wake the tall grass tickling your face and hands, and you can feel the ground beneath you changing. It's no longer the soft, loamy earth of the rainforest floor. It's harder, drier, and more compacted. There's a certain thrill to this new landscape, the feeling of being in a world that is so vast and so open. But there's also a new vulnerability. In the forest, you could hide. Here you are exposed a tiny, fragile thing on a wide stage. You hope the sloth doesn't have too many predators in this new environment. As a mainstream historical fact, the Pliocene epoch saw the rise of many large, formidable predators, including the Smilodon, or saber-toothed cat, and the giant, short-faced bear. These creatures were the top of the food chain, and they would have certainly viewed a giant ground sloth as a potential, albeit challenging meal. The sloth turns its head, and you can see its small eyes in the moonlight, a flash of ancient awareness. It changes direction, its steps now leading you toward a low depression in the landscape. You can feel the anticipation in the air, a silent hope that this is the right way, that water is near. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some paleontologists believe that the giant sloth, despite its immense size, was an agile swimmer. Its powerful clawed forelimbs and thick muscular tail would have made it perfectly suited for navigating rivers and lakes. Imagine this massive, shaggy beast gliding through the water, its head barely visible above the surface. It's a bizarre and beautiful image, and it complicates our understanding of this creature as a purely terrestrial animal. Historians still argue whether this was a common behavior or an emergency measure to escape predators or cross geographical barriers. The air now carries a new scent, a cool, earthy aroma, a smell of life in the middle of this dry plain. You feel your own thirst, a small nagging ache in the back of your throat, and you feel a profound sense of empathy for the sloth. Its need for water is 100 times greater than yours. Finally, you reach a place where the grass gives way to soft, muddy earth. A small stream, its surface a silver mirror under the moonlight, trickles through the depression. The sloth lowers its massive head and begins to drink a deep, long, and satisfying slurp. The sound is like a powerful vacuum cleaner, and you can almost feel its relief. This is what it was searching for, what it was moving with such quiet purpose toward. And you, a silent witness, get to share in this moment of success. The sloth's thirst is quenched. You watch it raise its head from the stream, a small trickle of water running down its chin. Its eyes seem softer now, its posture more relaxed. The moment of rest is brief, however. The nocturnal world of the plains is far more dangerous than the forest. The air, which was peaceful just a moment ago, now carries a new scent, a musky, powerful smell that raises the tiny hairs on the back of your neck. You instinctively look up, scanning the open landscape, your heart a cold knot in your chest. The sloth feels it too. Its head snaps up its ears, swiveling, its massive body tensing. It's no longer a gentle forager. It's a fortress, a bastion of bone and muscle against the night. The source of the scent becomes a reality. From the low-lying hills in the distance, a pair of figures emerges. They move with a fluid, terrifying grace, their bodies low to the ground, their forms elongated and powerful. You can see their eyes now, two pairs of burning embers in the moonlight. These are not small, opportunistic scavengers. These are apex predators, hunters from the very top of the food chain. As a mainstream historical fact, the Smilodon populator, the largest of these saber-toothed cats, roamed these very plains, a terrifying predator that dwarfed its modern-day relatives. It was a specialist hunter designed to take down large prey. And right now, it's looking right at the giant ground sloth. The two saber-toothed cats are circling their movements silent, their intent clear. They are a force of nature, a living embodiment of the word lethal. You can almost feel the weight of their predatory focus. You are a ghost, an afterthought in this colossal dance of life and death, and you find yourself wishing you were anywhere but here. The sloth, however, is not intimidated. It rears up on its hind legs, using its powerful tail as a tripod, its full size now on display. It's a moment of breathtaking power and defiance. It's a living mountain, and the two cats look almost small in comparison. Here's a quirky tidbit about this incredible standoff. Some paleontologists believe that the giant ground sloth's immense claws weren't just for digging and foraging, but were also used as a primary defensive weapon, a kind of living scythe. Imagine being on the receiving end of a swipe from a claw that's the size of a dinner plate. It's a terrifying thought. And historians still argue whether the saber-toothed cats hunted these massive creatures regularly, or if they were seen as a last resort, a high-risk, high-reward meal that was only attempted when other prey was scarce. The debate continues, but you're about to witness a live demonstration. The air is thick with tension. The cats are moving closer, their long, curved fangs glinting in the moonlight. The sloth lets out a low, guttural bellow, a sound that vibrates through your bones and makes the very air tremble. It's a clear warning: I am big, I am powerful, and I am not a meal. The cats hesitate, their predatory instincts warring with their sense of self-preservation. Finally, one of the cats lets out a frustrated snarl, and with a last withering look at the unyielding sloth, they turn and melt back into the darkness. The moment is over as quickly as it began. The sloth lowers itself to all fours, its body still tense, but the danger has passed for now. The air has gone from thick with tension to a quiet, profound stillness. The saber-toothed cats are gone, and the giant sloth is once again a peaceful grazer, its attention turned back to the tough plains grasses. But something has changed. You can feel it. The environment is still, but the past has a long reach. A faint, almost imperceptible scent wafts on the breeze, a scent that doesn't belong to this time. It's the smell of smoke, of fire, a thing that nature does on a rare occasion, but that you know to be a sign of something else. As you follow the sloth, its path now seems to cross with something more than just other animals. You find it first, a perfectly spherical stone, smooth and unnatural. It sits in the middle of the grass, a silent testament to a presence that shouldn't be here. You reach down and pick it up. It's heavy and cool in your hand, and you can feel the subtle imperfections, the telltale signs of a thing that has been worked, shaped, and used. This is a tool, a stone for grinding grains, or perhaps for pounding fibrous roots. A feeling of anachronism washes over you. You are in the Pliocene, in a world of giants, and you are holding an object that belongs to a different kind of life, a more intelligent life. As a mainstream historical fact, the arrival of early hominids in the Americas is a topic of intense scholarly debate. While the Clovis people are traditionally considered the first inhabitants with a presence dating back around 13,000 years, more recent discoveries have pushed that timeline back significantly. The presence of humans or early hominids in the same geographical region as the giant ground sloth is a known occurrence, and it raises a lot of questions. But here's a quirky tidbit. Some researchers believe that early hominids and giant sloths may have had a cooperative relationship. Perhaps the sloths, in their quest for food, would dig up tubers and roots, and the smaller hominids would then collect the scraps. A symbiotic partnership in a world that was already so dangerous. Historians still argue whether the relationship between early humans and these immense creatures was one of avoidance, cooperation, or predation. The fossil record is, as usual, frustratingly quiet on the specifics. But you can feel a new presence in the air, a silent observer in a world that you thought was only filled with beasts. You move on following the sloth, but your senses are now heightened. The forest seems to be watching you, and the grass seems to whisper, not just with the wind, but with the echo of ancient voices. The sloth is still focused on its foraging, its peaceful, consuming world, unchanged by the hint of this new presence. But you are changed. You have seen a ghost of the future, a sign of the life that would one day inherit this planet, and the knowledge of that a final twist in the story. The air is different now. The scent of fire and the hint of an alien presence have faded, but the change in the world is more profound than a single encounter. You can feel it in the air, a subtle shift in the wind, a slight drop in the temperature. The nights are getting colder. The grass, once a vibrant green, now has a hint of brown at its tips. The leaves on the few remaining trees seem a little less full, a little more tired. The giant sloth, too, seems to be sensing this change. Its foraging is less leisurely, more urgent. It moves with a new quiet desperation, as if it knows that the good times are coming to an end. As a mainstream historical fact, the end of the Pliocene and the beginning of the Pleistocene was a period of dramatic and rapid climate change. The world was entering a series of glacial cycles, and the vast temperate savannas that supported so many large mammals were beginning to give way to colder, more arid landscapes. The plants that the giant sloth had grown to rely on were becoming less abundant. The buffet was closing, and our colossal companion was slowly but surely feeling the pinch. Its body, built for a life of easy abundance, was now being tested by the growing scarcity of its world. You watch as it chews on a particularly tough, woody shrub, its jaw working with a furious, grinding rhythm. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some scientists have speculated that the giant ground sloth's extinction wasn't caused by a single factor, but by a combination of things, a perfect storm of environmental change and competition. One of the most interesting theories is that the very animals that the sloth ate were also adapting to the changing climate, developing tougher defenses and less palatable foliage, which made the sloth's foraging even harder. It's an arms race of survival, and the sloth was slowly but surely losing. Historians still argue whether the climate change was the primary driver of extinction, or if the arrival of humans with their hunting prowess and ability to adapt was the final nail in the coffin. The truth, as is often the case, is probably a complex mix of both. You are a witness to the beginning of the end. The sloth's peaceful world is slowly shrinking. The gentle giant, once a ruler of its domain, is now an old king in a dying kingdom. The journey, which was once a leisurely stroll through a land of plenty, has become a race against time, a desperate, fading search for sustenance. The quiet sadness of it all is a heavy weight in the air. The air has grown colder still. The nights are a bitter chill that cuts through the shaggy coat of the sloth, and the days offer little warmth in return. The endless plains, once a bounty of food, are now a landscape of withered grasses and skeletal shrubs. The sloth, your guide through this long journey, is no longer the picture of easy abundance. It is thinner now, its ribs more pronounced, its movements slower and more deliberate. This isn't a foraging expedition anymore, it's a last stand. You can feel the quiet desperation in its every move. It stops at a dead, thorny bush and, with a powerful huff, tears it from the ground. It chews on the tough, fibrous wood, a last desperate attempt to extract any remaining nutrients. There is no joy in this meal, only a grim determination. As a mainstream historical fact, the end of the giant sloth's era, the late Pleistocene was marked by a series of megafaunal extinctions across the globe. The giant sloth was just one of many colossal creatures to disappear from the face of the earth. It was a time of immense loss, a mass extinction event that reshaped the planet's ecosystems forever. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some scientists have suggested that the giant ground sloth's extinction wasn't a slow, drawn-out affair, but a sudden and catastrophic end. The blitzkrieg theory suggests that the arrival of skilled human hunters, combined with the already declining food sources, was a lethal 1-2 punch that decimated the population in a relatively short amount of time. It's a dark but compelling thought that a species that had survived for millions of years could be brought down by a new, more intelligent predator. Historians still argue whether the decline of the giant sloth was a slow fade or a sudden collapse. Was it the changing climate that slowly starved them out, or was it the new two-legged creatures who hunted them to the brink? The truth is probably a combination of both. You are witnessing the final tragic act of a story that has been millions of years in the making. The once plentiful buffet is gone, replaced by a final, desperate feast of anything it can find. The sadness of it all is a heavy weight, a quiet lament for a world that is slowly but surely fading into the past. The journey is coming to its end. You're no longer following a living creature, but a ghost, a memory. The giant sloth is gone. Its last feast, its final struggle against a dying world is over. The cold wind whistles across the plains, and the landscape is an endless expanse of brown and gray. But the story isn't over. You're now following a different kind of trail. Not footprints in the mud, but fossilized clues that tell the story of its final moments. The path leads you to a place where the earth is hard and rock-like, a place where the past has been perfectly preserved. You find at first a collection of bones bleached white by the sun, and the passage of millennia. The sheer size of them is staggering. A massive femur, a colossal rib cage, and a single immense skull with dark, hollowed-out sockets where the peaceful eyes of the sloth once were. It's a somber, silent tribute to a life lived and lost. You run your hand over the smooth, cool surface of the fossilized bone, and you can almost feel the weight and power that once resided within it. This is a place of profound significance, a final resting place for a forgotten giant. As a mainstream historical fact, many of the most complete and well-preserved giant ground sloth fossils have been found in the La Brea tar pits in Los Angeles, California. These natural asphalt seeps acted as a kind of prehistoric trap, preserving the remains of countless animals that wandered into them, creating an unparalleled window into the world of the Pleistocene. But here's a quirky tidbit. Some of the sloth fossils found at these sites show clear signs of healed fractures and diseases, suggesting that these animals lived a long and often difficult life. They weren't just passive victims of a changing world. They were survivors enduring broken bones and illnesses, a testament to their incredible resilience. Historians still argue whether the presence of so many different species in the tar pits was a result of a slow, steady rate of death over a long period or a catastrophic event that trapped many animals at once. The debate continues, but you are standing in the middle of the results. This is the end of the line, the final page of the giant sloth story. The wind whispers through the dry grass, carrying a silent requiem for a world that is now just a collection of bones and forgotten dreams. The wind whispers through the empty sockets of the sloth's skull, a hollow sound that echoes the great silence that has fallen over this landscape. But the story isn't over, not entirely. It's time to move forward, to travel through time and space to see the legacy of the giants. We leave the desolate fossil beds and arrive in a place that is lush and green, the air thick with the buzzing of insects and the calls of unseen birds. This is the modern world, a world where the giants are gone, but their echoes remain. You look up and there it is, a small, unassuming creature, barely a foot long, clinging to a branch high in the canopy. It's a tree sloth, a tiny, slow-moving ball of fur, a living testament to its colossal ancestors. As a mainstream historical fact, the modern-day tree sloth is a close relative of the extinct giant ground sloth. They both belong to the suborder Folivora, meaning leaf-eaters, and they share many of the same traits, a slow metabolism, a diet of leaves, and a penchant for well-being slow. The connection is undeniable, a clear lineage from a towering giant to a petite arboreal acrobat. But here's a quirky tidbit. The slow metabolism of the modern sloth is so profound that it can take up to a month to digest a single meal. This is a direct evolutionary echo of its gigantic ancestors, who also had incredibly slow metabolisms to process their tough, fibrous diet. Imagine waiting that long for a meal to make its way through your system. It's a reminder of how the past continues to shape the present, even in the smallest ways. Historians still argue whether the tree sloth's arboreal lifestyle was a direct result of being outcompeted by other more agile herbivores after the extinction of the megafauna. It's a compelling theory that by retreating to the trees, they found a niche that was too difficult for other animals to exploit, a hidden world where they could survive and thrive while their giant cousins vanished from the face of the earth. The debate continues, but you are here watching a living piece of history, a tiny echo of a forgotten giant. The journey continues, but the focus has shifted. It's no longer about a single creature, but about the vast, sprawling ecosystem that it inhabited. You are no longer following a single path, but floating above the landscape, watching the world as it was a world teeming with life that has long since vanished. You see the Megatherium in its element, a gentle giant tearing down trees, a living force of nature, shaping the very landscape around it. You see the herds of toxodon, rhino-like creatures, with flat snouts grazing on the plains, and the immense armored bodies of the glyptodonts looking like Volkswagen beetles, with shells lumbering through the undergrowth. As a mainstream historical fact, the Pleistocene megafauna of South America was one of the most diverse and unique on the planet. This continent, isolated for millions of years, had evolved its own menagerie of strange and wonderful creatures, from the giant ground sloth to the saber-toothed cats and the short-faced bears. It was a world that was both familiar and alien, a place where the familiar rules of the modern animal kingdom didn't quite apply. But here's a quirky tidbit. Some paleontologists believe that the unique flora and fauna of South America were a direct result of the continent's isolation, allowing for a kind of evolutionary arms race that produced some of the most bizarre and wonderful creatures the world has ever seen. Historians still argue whether the Great American Faunal Interchange, the event where the North and South American continents were linked by the formation of the Isthmus of Panama, was the primary cause of the megafauna extinction in the South. The debate continues. It's a tragic story of a world that was once so vibrant and alive, a testament to the sheer power of nature to create and to destroy. The gentle, peaceful world of the giant sloth, a world of abundance and quiet, has vanished, and all that remains are the whispers of its passing and the echoes of its descendants. The time has come to say goodbye. The journey is at an end. We've walked alongside a titan, a living monument to a forgotten world. We've watched it forage in the deep, humid jungles of the Pliocene, and we've followed it across the vast, wind-swept plains of the Pleistocene. We've seen its quiet dignity, its immense power, and its final, tragic struggle against a world that was rapidly changing around it. We've been a ghost in the landscape, a silent witness to a story that spans millions of years. The last of the giant sloths, the final fading echoes of a lost world, are now just a memory. We are standing here in the present with a profound sense of what has been lost. The world is a quieter place without them. A world without giants is in a way a little bit smaller, a little less wondrous. The very idea of these creatures, these colossal, gentle herbivores, challenges our modern-day understanding of what a mammal can be. The sheer scale of their existence is a testament to the wild, unpredictable nature of evolution. As a mainstream historical fact, the last known populations of giant ground sloths in North America went extinct around 11,000 years ago, coinciding with the arrival of early humans and the end of the last ice age. The story is a somber one, but it is also a powerful reminder of the delicate balance of life on Earth. But here's a quirky tidbit. Some cryptozoologists believe that the giant ground sloth might not be entirely extinct, that a small, isolated population might still exist in the deep, unexplored jungles of South America. It's an almost impossible notion, but the idea, however fanciful, speaks to our deep-seated desire to believe in a world where giants still roam. Historians still argue whether the extinction of the giant sloth was a slow, inevitable decline or a sudden, catastrophic event. The debate is a reflection of our own anxieties about our place in the world, about the fragility of life. and about the legacy we will one day leave behind. As we say our final farewell to this magnificent creature, remember the quiet peace of the jungle, the fierce strength of the plains, and the profound sadness of a world that is now just a memory. This is the end of the journey. The giant sloth is gone, but its memory, its story lives on. And now, as the last of the images fade, and the memories of our journey settle, it's time to let the quiet take over. The rustling of the prehistoric ferns, the soft thud of the sloth's footfalls, the distant roar of a long-extinct predator, they've all faded now, leaving only the soft hum of your fan and the stillness of your own room. The air is no longer humid, with the scent of a lost world, but cool and still. Take a moment to just breathe, to let the images of the giants melt away into the background of your mind. They were real. Their world was real. And for a little while you were there with them. The sun has set on their time, and the world is a different place now. It's a little quieter, perhaps, but their story is a whisper in the wind, a gentle reminder of the past. The shadows on your wall are just that, shadows. There are no more giants to follow, only the quiet, calming hum of the end of a long journey. So close your eyes now. The ghosts of the giants are gone. Sleep well, sweet dreams.